little discussion on what is possible and what is probable. So I did a course a number of years ago. One of my early mentors said to me that anything is possible. Literally anything is possible. But is it probable? Probable means, is it likely to occur? But is it possible that it can occur? So that's how you look at things. So I want to run through that. So I think it's really appropriate for right now, especially in light of what's happening with the market now. So as everyone knows, my name is Andrew Squilari. I'm a digital asset strategist. I'm a Daxi specialist. I've been buying Daxi coins pretty consistently over the years. I've been involved with the Daxi company over 5 years now. And of course, I've done very well in the crypto space with other coins. And as you know, my stance on other coins right now doesn't fit within my risk profile. So I'm really happy with what Daxi is doing. Tonight's presentation is not financial advice, trading advice, or any other sort of advice. Make sure you talk to appropriately qualified professionals to give you advice in the area that you're asking for. If they don't have cryptocurrency, you're literally wasting your time. They can only give you an opinion. Now, there's a ton of good accountants out there now that do have crypto, they understand crypto, and they can give you a good opinion on cryptocurrency, as well as some financial advice as well, but making sure that they are appropriately financially included in the market. Otherwise, they'll have no idea what you're asking them. So again, tonight is purely educational and content. Now, is something possible? Now, we're asked about a real situation that could happen. That's if it's possible, it could happen. And is it probable? We're asking about a real situation that might happen as well. So could happen and might happen. So that's the way I look at possible and probable. So we'll start off with where we're sitting at right now. A lot of people are looking at their portfolios. They're wondering what they should do, whether they've got crypto, real estate, precious metals, or stocks, bonds, or jewelry, or whatever. When should you sell an asset? Number one, if you really need the money. That's number one. If you need the money, just, hey, doesn't matter what the price is, you need it, you just cash it out and you do what you need to do to survive. So that's number one. Or when you feel you have a better opportunity to transfer your asset over to another asset class or another asset within that class. So if you think there's a better opportunity. One of the key things about that particular area is you should only sell an asset if you believe the need you have is greater than the reward in holding the asset. Now, just say that one to yourself again. Just read that yourself and let that sink in. You should only sell an asset if you believe the need you have is greater than the reward in holding the asset. Now, I don't think that what my view on the asset, if we have a common asset, then I might think to sell it does not mean that you are wrong in your need to keep it. Because we're different people, we have different risk profiles, we have different needs, and you make your own decision about your particular investment choices. So no one is wrong, no one is stupid. You make the decisions appropriate to your particular risk profile and need on the day. And sometimes if you wait 24 hours, the need may change. But once you sell or once you buy, once you sell, you can never buy it back at that price again, unless you're lucky, or you may get a cheaper opportunity down the track or a more expensive opportunity down the track. So that's why sell an asset. Now, investing, generally speaking, is you have to take responsibility for your decisions. Now, I do know there's a big community of people around the world now that aren't happy with their investment managers. They're really not. They're not happy with their decisions they're making. They're not happy with the returns. They're not happy with the fees. They're not happy with the risk associated with having someone manage their money for them. But you have to take responsibility now. And the only way to take responsibility is by educating yourself and developing some financial intuition. Now, the biggest things you need to consider is your personal risk profile. Someone at 80 will have a very different risk profile of someone at 60, someone at 40, and someone 20. So no one is wrong in when they make a decision about their own personal investment strategies. So you need to have an actual investment strategy. You need to work out what you are going to do with your money. High risk, medium risk, low risk, and protection mechanisms around all of those as well. So strategies super important. So you need to know your risk profile personally and the strategy of your investment. You need to work out a desired income, a goal. Why are you risking your capital? Why are you involved with investing? What do you want to achieve with the money that you have existing, and what you're going to do with the profits of investing as well? So desired outcome or goals is super important. And of course, exit strategy. Now, I know a lot of people here own their own home. And probably more don't own their own home. If you buy your own home and think you're going to be there your entire life, you really need to think about why you are living in the house you're living in right now. Because someone at 20 buys a house, it may not be appropriate for 7 kids if they have 7 kids, so they're going to need to move house. Or they buy a 5-bedroom house and they don't plan on having any children. So, your exit strategy for real estate, for shares, for precious metals, and even crypto, you need to work out at what point you are content with the gains and what you're going to do with those gains over the lifetime or the use case of that particular investment. So again, you need to think about at what point am I going to sell some of these assets. Now, one of the biggest assets we have, of course, is your house or property. There's lots of different types of property investing. You can get involved with your own residential property. You can get involved with investment properties. You can get involved with unit trusts. You own some properties. And there's a really big area now coming into play called tokenized investing in property, which it's got me really excited, to be totally honest. So do you think it's possible for your portfolio to double, or your investment that you put into property to double, short-term, medium, and long-term? So in the chat, if you want to put in there, do you think that it's possible for your portfolio in real estate to double, let's say in the next 10 years? So just put that in the chat if you don't mind. I don't think I can see the chat anymore, but do you think it's possible in the next 10 years that if you have a property worth, the average property is between 650 and 750,000 now, you think it's going to double in the next 10 years, considering what's happened in the last 3 to 4 years? You look at the other one, is it probable? It's possible it could. It's possible it could double, but it's unlikely in the short term or medium term or even long term, in my opinion, that a portfolio in property, unless you get involved with new properties and you've got some really cool tech which reduces the overall cost of the property, for it to double in property, because we are literally at the peak of the investment cycle. Interest rates are going up, which is really cooling the whole portfolio, investing into property as well globally. If you talk to any real estate agents, 12 months ago, they were screaming for properties, and now they're all screaming for customers. So the property cycle has peaked, and we're on the way down again. Short-term, medium-term, long-term, we'll see what happens, but interest rates are still Australia just went up another 0.25, 0.25% the other day, or 25 basis points. So we're still trying to slow down the economy, which is just destroying the economy, in my opinion. And we got shares. So again, is it possible for your share portfolio to double, or your investment to double in shares in the next, medium, short-term, medium, or long-term? Is it probable? I don't think that share portfolios have got anywhere to go but down at the moment. The whole world is teetering on extreme volatility, extreme fear, So for very short term, it's unlikely that your investments in shares, unless you're lucky, you might jag a startup that just got listed on the share market. But it's unlikely that the more established companies around the world are going to really have great gains over the short or medium term because of the volatility in the market around the world. So again, it's unlikely that your portfolio is going to double. Not probable. It's possible, but not probable. And of course, we've got the precious metals, which we have the precious metal bundle with Daxi. Is it possible for your portfolio to double in the long term with precious metals? Yeah, it's possible. But in my opinion, it's not probable. It's unlikely that gold is going to hit $4,000 in the short term, medium term, definitely long term, but not really. So is precious metals something that you're going to develop long-term wealth with? No. At the moment, precious metals have been used for the last thousands of years as a hedge against inflation. That's why a lot of people are still buying precious metals, but it hasn't been really affecting their price too much, even though we're going into one of the worst financial downturns, even more so since 1929, the Great Depression. So literally our economy are worse than back, but we're not really seeing it. We're not acknowledging it, but it certainly is happening. Precious metals, great investment for protecting and hedging against inflation, but it's not going to really give you the freedom that you're looking for. Now, of course, cryptocurrency. So is it possible for your portfolio to double? So that means, your portfolio double is your cash, your investment to double if you're going to leverage your money. I just want to explain that a bit. So if you're going to borrow against houses or other property, so you're leveraging your money to get involved, is it possible that your portfolio is going to double short-term, medium, and long-term? Yeah, it's possible. But considering what's happening around the world, at any point that investability in pressure, the general day-to-day cryptocurrency, it's they're around for a long time. Their markets now are quite mature, over 13 years old. So for the Bitcoin, Ethereum is back in 2016. 2016 Bitcoin Ethereum came out. So they're really mature markets. So a lot of the profit's been taken out of them, and they're very correlated with the other investables, with shares and property as well. So it's unlikely that we're going to see a short-term doubling, but definitely medium to long-term. So again, looking at your risk profile, you may be a medium to long-term person. So there certainly is a lot of probability that your portfolio will double medium to long-term compared to the short-term, because short-term is pretty scary. Now, as you know, I'm a Daxi specialist. I love what Daxi is doing, especially considering the webinar we watched last week explaining crowdfunding, which is the individual use case of the Daxi coin. Now, is it possible for your portfolio to double, or your investment to double, short-term, medium-term, and long-term? Is it possible? I believe so. Like the other ones, anything is possible. Is it probable? That's the key to think about as well. Is it probable that it's going to double short-term, medium-term, and long-term? Now, I've listened to the webinar last week. I really am very bullish about the possibility of the Daxi price sitting where it is now to double short-term. So money is money. I don't get too attached about how I make my money, as long as it's legal, moral, and ethical. And I think in the short term, because of where Daxi sits in the ecosystem of crowdfunding and blockchain, I think short term it's probably not a bad thing. And of course, medium to long term, there's so much great stuff happening in the short term that the medium and long term are going to look after themselves, definitely. So just want to explain a little bit about when you make money in investing. A lot of people don't understand this. A lot of people focus on you make money when you sell your asset back into cash. That's when you make your money. But actually, it's not that at all. You make your money in investing when you purchase the asset. It's your purchase price and the leverage on your purchase price that gives you the reward, and that's when you make your money. So leveraging the price you pay for an asset allows you to build your wealth faster. So the cheaper you buy an asset and at the maximum price that you need the asset or the cash, that's when you actually make your money, and you can build your wealth a lot faster buying a cheap asset that has a lot of growth potential compared to a more mature asset that a lot of the growth potential has already been taken out by the early stage investors. Now, just as an example, we're talking about possibility and probability here again. So if you were to buy a Bitcoin at 30K, which is what we have at the moment, oops, and it goes to 90K, so it goes back up to its absolute peak back in November 2021. So that will give you a 200% gain on your money. Who'd be happy with that? 200%. Happy day. So is it possible that does it? 100%. Definitely possible. Been there before. It's going to go again as a matter of time. Is it probable to do it short term? Is it probable to do it medium term? Sort of maybe a bit iffy as well. Is it probable to do it long term? Definitely. It will get back up to that point. And I've talked about the cycles of the peaks of Bitcoin in other webinars, and I think it's very probable that Bitcoin will go back up to 90K. It's just a matter of time, and whether it goes beyond that or not, the market will tell, but it's been there once, so it's more likely to go there again. We'll just talk about the Daxi coin at the moment, 0.0033 the other day. So if you were to buy a Daxi coin today at 003, which is 0.3 of a cent, and it goes to 1 cent. And remembering the maximum price that Daxi reached was actually 8 cents. It did hit 31 cents for a second because someone didn't know what they were doing and they made a mistake. But the average, the generally speaking, 8 cents was their maximum price. But if it goes from 0.003 to 1 cent, you're going to get a 300% gain. Again, going back to possible, is it possible to go to 1 cent? 100%. Is it probable to go to 1 cent? Definitely so. And you got to think about, in your own case, is it possible and probable, medium term, long term, or short term, that it goes from 0.003 to 1 cent? Now, that's a question for you because I don't know your risk profile. Now, where the leverage stuff goes in, so if you were to get some Daxi coin at 003 where we are now, and it goes to 1 cent, it's 300% gain. But if you waited, because for whatever reason, and you bought the coins at 005, so half a cent, then you made 100% gain. So instead of 3xing your money, you've just doubled your money. So that explains a bit about leverage. We'll go and expand that just a little bit more now. So is it possible for Bitcoin to go from 30K to 90K? 100%. Is it possible for Daxi to go from 0.3 to 1 cent? I think it's quite easily can go there as well. So is it probable short term? I think Daxi's probably got more of a chance of going to 1 cent short term than any other coin in the market. And I think if you watched the webinar last week, you'd probably agree with me. Medium term, definitely. Long term, there's no doubt about it.